And I just had some bad experiences. People took advantage of me knowing that I didn't have anything and nowhere.
A lot of you said I didn't get tested for 10 years. That I want to address as well. I was getting STD checks. I did not know that when I was getting STD checks, it didn't include the HIV/AIDS test. I thought it was all included. And I honestly think that because I went in and I said, hey, I want an STD check, and I was stern on what I wanted. That's what I wanted. They probably just didn't ask me that because I start having headaches and fevers. I'm getting really nauseous, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the doctor.
What makes Gina's clip hit so hard is not just the illness. It is the confusion. She is sitting there explaining that she thought a standard STD check covered everything, including HIV. And that tiny misunderstanding may have cost her years. That is the nightmare hidden inside her own words. Not a headline, not a court document. A woman saying she was getting tested, but still somehow did not know the one test that mattered most was missing. And that is why this story became bigger than one viral clip. Because once Diddy's name entered the public conversation, people stopped looking at his world like celebrity gossip and started looking at it like a system. Federal prosecutors later described freak-offs as organized sexual events involving travel, hotel rooms, drugs, workers, recordings, and cleanup. The government's own indictment did not frame those events like random parties. It framed them like a machine. So when Gina talks about symptoms, testing, and not knowing what was happening to her body, the question is not, why is she talking now? The question is, how many people pass through dangerous rooms under powerful names with no real protection, no real answers, and no one willing to slow the machine down before bodies started paying the price?
And I'm doing it this way because I just don't feel like turning my phone sideways. It's going to be real sped up. I'm going to answer a couple questions because a lot of y'all want to know.
Now this is where the story gets dangerous, because Gina does something people online hate. She does not give them the name. She tells pieces. She gives symptoms. She gives timelines. She talks like someone carrying a secret that could destroy somebody, but she stops before crossing the legal line. And honestly, that may be the smartest thing she can do. Because the second she names a celebrity without proof strong enough for court, the story stops being about her illness and starts becoming a defamation battle. But that silence also creates the perfect storm. The audience hears Diddy party. They hear HIV. They hear celebrity. Then they look at what prosecutors already alleged in a real federal indictment. Women pulled into Combs's orbit, commercial sex workers transported across state lines, drugs allegedly used to keep victims compliant, and recordings allegedly used as leverage. That does not prove Gina's claim. But it explains why her story caught fire so fast. And this is important. Cassie's settled civil complaint did accuse Combs of years of abuse, sex trafficking, coercion, and control. Her lawyer said the complaint alleged he controlled parts of her life, including healthcare, career opportunities, and forced sexual encounters with male prostitutes. But I did not find reliable support for the original narrator's specific claim that Cassie's court filing documented repeated STIs or medication resistance. So we do not need to exaggerate. The confirmed allegations are already dark enough. The real question is not whether every online theory is true. The real question is why so many separate claims, lawsuits, trial testimony, and federal allegations keep pointing back to the same kind of rooms. Controlled rooms, recorded rooms, expensive rooms, and rooms where the powerful allegedly decided what happened next.
Thanks for streaming with us. Incredibly graphic testimony today in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. And we have to warn you, some of what you hear.
After that news clip, the story has to be handled carefully, because the internet wants a monster, a list, and a diagnosis. But real reporting does not work like that. You cannot look at a celebrity losing weight and turn that into a medical claim. You cannot point at a face, a jacket size, or a canceled appearance and call it evidence. That is how a story becomes reckless. But here is what can be said. The Diddy case forced people to re-examine an entire celebrity ecosystem. Cassie testified in federal court that Combs forced her into repeated drug-fueled sexual events called freak-offs. And Reuters reported that she said those events lasted for years, sometimes for days, with drugs, control, recordings, and recovery time afterward. Jurors were also shown the 2016 hotel surveillance video, the same violent incident Combs later publicly apologized for after the footage came out. That is the verified core, not guesses about who looks sick, not blind speculation about private health. The verified core is that one of the most powerful men in hip-hop was accused in court of turning intimacy, fame, money, and fear into a controlled environment. And once that core is real, the public starts asking what else happened around it. So the drama is not in pretending every rumor is proven. The drama is in the gap. We have a conviction on prostitution-related counts. We have acquittals on the heaviest charges. We have dozens of civil accusations. We have witnesses. We have denials. And somewhere inside all of that, people are still trying to figure out how many lives were pulled into the same orbit before the lights finally came on.
Man, you doing it, man. You deserve it, Daddy. You putting in that work. Proud of you. I love you.
That short clip sounds casual, almost playful. But in this story, even casual clips feel different because the public is no longer watching Diddy's circle as entertainment. They are watching it like evidence from a world that used to be untouchable. And this is the part the mainstream media does understand. There is a difference between asking hard questions and diagnosing people from the internet. That is why the big outlets avoid the wildest claims. They know Combs has already gone after media companies. In 2025, he filed a $100 million defamation lawsuit against NBC Universal, Peacock, and Apple Entertainment over the documentary Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, claiming it aired false and damaging accusations against him. Whether he wins or loses, the message is obvious. If you publish something explosive, you better be ready to defend every sentence. But that legal pressure also creates a strange silence. Because the more lawsuits fly, the more cautious editors become. And when editors become cautious, survivors and smaller voices start feeling like nobody is listening. So, the real line is this. We do not claim what we cannot prove. We do not call rumors medical facts. But we also do not ignore what is already documented. Court filings, trial testimony, the federal indictment, the conviction, the lawsuits from former employees, all of that paints a picture of a powerful operation where silence was not accidental. Silence was part of the architecture.
And I just had some bad experiences. People took advantage of me knowing that I didn't have anything and nowhere to go. So yeah, I was taken advantage of a good 3 times.
Gina's next clip is the part that changes the temperature. She says people took advantage of her because they knew she had nothing and nowhere to go. That is not a celebrity party detail. That is a vulnerability detail. And vulnerability is the one thing that keeps appearing across the broader Diddy allegations. The federal indictment accused Combs of using power, money, drugs, career control, housing control, intimidation, and recordings to keep people obedient. Cassie testified that the freak-offs became something she had to recover from. Something that swallowed her time, her confidence, and eventually her sense of control. Former employees have described the alleged system from the inside. So when Gina says she was taken advantage of, the line hits because it fits a larger pattern of people saying they were pulled into situations they could not easily leave. But here is where the narration must stay clean. Gina has not publicly proven who infected her. No court has found that Diddy gave anyone HIV. No reliable source confirms the health status of the celebrities being dragged into online rumors. And there is no responsible way to turn weight loss, internet chatter, or jailhouse gossip into a diagnosis. Still, Gina's story matters because it raises a real question about power and risk. In rooms where people are allegedly drugged, recorded, pressured, transported, or controlled, consent and safety stop being simple words. They become the difference between walking out with a bad memory and walking out with damage you carry for the rest of your life.
He did a whole lot of people, and now he's paying for it. So all these cats, I guess y'all get y'all visitations right. Some of y'all can get y'all conjugal visits right with them.
The online version of this story wants one clean answer, one host, one party network, one hidden diagnosis, one secret that explains everything. But real cases are messier than that. The government did not charge Combs with HIV transmission. The federal conviction was for transportation to engage in prostitution. The jury acquitted him of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. That matters because if we are going to build a narration on facts, we have to say what the jury actually decided, but the acquittals did not erase the evidence that came out. Reuters reported that the judge still called the conduct subjugation at sentencing and gave Combs 50 months in prison. Prosecutors had asked for more than 11 years, while the defense pushed for a much shorter sentence. Combs apologized in court, while his lawyers said he plans to appeal. Now add the second pressure point: lawsuits. Combs sued NBC Universal over the Peacock documentary. He also fought back against claims he said were false. And that matters because defamation lawsuits do not just happen in court. They create fear in newsrooms, YouTube channels, blogs, and even among alleged victims. Everybody starts measuring every word. Then came the continuing investigations. The Guardian reported in June 2026 that Los Angeles authorities were reviewing additional sexual assault allegations involving record producer Jonathan Hay. Even while Combs was already serving his federal sentence at FCI Fort Dix, that means the legal story is not frozen. It is still moving, so no, we cannot say the hidden medical theory is proven. But we can say this: the Diddy case has become bigger than one conviction. It is now a maze of criminal findings, civil lawsuits, appeals, denials, witness testimony, and still open questions that the public keeps trying to force into daylight.
Time since the day of his verdict. Now, Sean Combs ended up being convicted of 2 charges. Those were transportation for the purpose of charges. He was let off on the more severe charges of trafficking and racketeering conspiracy.
After the verdict clip, the story moves from the courtroom into the staff corridors, and that is where it gets even uglier. Because criminal trials show one version of a case, but employee lawsuits can show how the machine allegedly worked day to day. Philip Pines, a former Combs employee, filed a lawsuit claiming he was expected to prepare rooms for events he called Wild King Night. People reported that he alleged those rooms were stocked with red lights, ice buckets, alcohol, marijuana, honey packs, baby oil, lubricant, towels, drugs, and sex machines. Then, according to his complaint, after the events ended, he was told to remove evidence, clean stains, delete incriminating videos from devices, keep people quiet, and tip hotel cleaning crews so nothing got reported. That allegation is not just about partying. If true, it describes infrastructure, setup, supply, surveillance, cleanup, and silence. Then there is Deontay Nash. Nash worked with Combs and Cassie for years, testified during the criminal trial, and later filed his own lawsuit accusing Combs of verbal, physical, and sexual abuse. People reported that Nash alleged exploitative working conditions, non-consensual sexual conduct, violence, and intimidation. Combs has denied the allegations through his legal team. This is the pattern that matters for the replacement narration. Not unverified medical rumors, not random celebrity body watching. The research story is stronger. Former insiders are describing a world where powerful people were allegedly protected, employees were allegedly pressured, and evidence was allegedly managed before outsiders could ever see the real mess. And while all that plays out, Combs' legal team is still attacking the conviction on appeal, arguing the judge overstepped during sentencing. So the legal war is not over, it has simply moved to a new battlefield.
Prosecutors, on the other hand, said Diddy was not sorry and that his apology was phony and that there was some serious harm done to the victims of this case. Like you said, they wanted a sentence of at least 11 years. Ultimately, we know a sentence has now been shared with the court of 4 years behind bars.
That sentencing clip brings the story back to the human cost. Prosecutors wanted more than 11 years. The judge gave 50 months. The defense wanted far less, and the public split immediately. Some people saw the sentence as accountability. Others saw it as proof that the most serious accusations did not land the way prosecutors hoped. But Gina's story sits outside that clean, legal box. She is not the verdict. She is not the appeal. She is not the NBC lawsuit. She is a woman on camera saying her body changed, her life changed, and she still does not have the final answer she needs. That is why her silence over the name is so powerful. It frustrates viewers, but legally it makes sense. Naming someone without proof can destroy a case before it even starts, and that is the trap victims often fall into. Speak too soon, and powerful lawyers attack the details. Wait too long, and the public loses focus. Stay silent, and the person you suspect gets more time. Speak loudly, and you risk being accused of chasing clout, money, or revenge. That is why this replacement narration should not push beyond the evidence. The stronger angle is not, "We know who did it." The stronger angle is, why does this case still have so many unanswered doors? Combs is in federal prison, but appealing. Los Angeles authorities are reviewing separate allegations. Former insiders have filed lawsuits. Cassie's testimony changed how the public views the empire, and Gina's unanswered question hangs over the whole thing like a shadow. If something happened to her in that world, who is going to prove it before time runs out?
It was just old news, and they took a couple of with the footage from Puff from the days that's leading up him to get arrested, and the incidents with the people from the courts. You know, the two people from the courts. So it was nothing new.
So where does that leave the story now? Not finished, not clean, not proven in the way the internet wants it to be. Diddy is serving a 50-month federal sentence, but his lawyers are still fighting the conviction. He was found guilty on prostitution-related transportation counts, but acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking. That split verdict is why the case still feels unresolved. At the same time, new civil claims and investigations keep pulling the story forward. Former employees have described alleged cleanup systems, intimidation, and abuse. Los Angeles authorities have reviewed additional allegations. Media companies are being sued. Witnesses are still speaking. Accusers are still filing. And somewhere on the outside of all that, Gina's clips keep circulating because they represent the piece the courtroom has not answered. The safest, strongest way to tell this is simple. The medical theory is not proven. The broader pattern of alleged abuse, coercion, secrecy, and control is heavily documented. And that is enough to keep the story alive.
So this, but it just seems very suspicious when you go through and you look at in the history of different people that can make you go away if you listen. I've worried about some of the things that I.
Now the question is not just what happened behind those doors. The question is who still has proof, who is still afraid to talk, and who is waiting for the legal system to move first. Because in this story, silence has protected powerful people before. The only thing that breaks it is evidence.